8. Walter Wright in front of his hometown fans. He's fought here at the Emerald Queen in Tacoma many times. He had success on the Contender Season 2. You see the headshots through round 3. Wright landing 47%. Wright was able to score a knockdown in the first round of his first fight on the Contender Season 2. The warning from Macaluso. That was against Andre Eason. Then lost that ugly decision to K9. Then bounced back on the Contender finale show with a 4th round TKO over Vinroy Barrett. Now stepping outside the Contender family, going up against the undefeated but untested Dan Wallace, and he really wants to impress tonight. Teddy Atlas's scorecard, he's impressed plenty. 3 rounds to zip.
Again, we talked about early how Wright has fought the much better opposition, and it's showing. Also, he has the advantage in another experience department. 110 amateur fights for Wright versus about 54 for Wallace. All of that is serving Wright tonight. That's part of why he's more relaxed, and there's less wasted movement when he wants to get to something for Wright. Again, you see Wallace. He has to work extremely hard to get in position. Takes a lot of extra motion, a lot of extra steps. Wright is usually in the right position.
With the jab from Walter Wright. Remember, we told you earlier before the fight started, he's a left-handed guy in normal life. Only fights right-handed, so he has a lot of good accuracy, control, and power with that left hand.
I'll tell you something interesting on the psychological front, and fights are usually fought on the psychological front. I can almost guarantee you that it's probably very important for the cornermen of Wallace tonight to let him know that he's not winning this fight. Because I bet you that in his mind, because he's doing so much work, that he may think he's doing better than he actually is doing.
Interesting point.
He will only connect it with his work rate. He'll say to himself, I'm working so hard, I must be winning this fight. When in reality, he will not be winning the fight.
Straight right hand landed from Walter Wright. You can see some blood now starting to come out of the nose of Dan Wallace. Scores again with ease with the jab, does Wright. There comes the lead right hand, back to the jab.
Again, very little wasted motion or effort by Wright.
Right hand punctuates the 4th round for C. Show was the rivalry between Walter Wright and Cornelius K9 Bundridge. And ironies of ironies, here in his hometown, in the ring that he came up and built himself up in, it's K9 who will be in the main event. Cornelius Bundridge in our main event tonight. A very good fight against Chris the Mechanic Smith, a veteran who's been there and done that. It's going to be a very tough test for K9. That is still to come.
When Wright wants to score, he gets himself in position and he scores. When Wallace wants to attempt to score, there's a lot of preliminary movement to get to that point. Very little wasted, as we said early, by Wright.
Wright's been willing to toss out that left hook and try to bring the right hand behind it, and there's a right hand to the body from Wallace. And another lead right hand from Walter Wright, and then digs a left hand to the body. He's had such success with the right hand. Punch track numbers, the jabs. 184 thrown by Wallace, but he has only landed 16 of them.
If Wright were a quarterback, and of course we have the NFL playoffs in our midst, he'd be a Chad Pennington type from the Jets. A lot of short, high percentage passes. doesn't waste much, doesn't try to go down the field with bombs too often.
And to take that analogy even further, it's interesting his trainer Mathis Hill refers to him as a thinking man's fighter, which is the thing they always say about Chad Pennington, and he's a cerebral quarterback. Final minute of this 5th round. Teddy's scorecard, Walter Wright. His first fight after the contender. Up 4 rounds to zip, in complete control, looking for the 13th win of his career.
Just watch Wright. His feet are set. Watch his legs. He's always in position to punch. And watch Wallace. His feet are not always set. A lot of extra movement downstairs in the basement before the upstairs is in order.
You talked about Wallace maybe just being pleased enough with his productivity in terms of how many punches he's throwing. Even those numbers have started to dip. Just over 50 for this round after throwing 117 in the first round.
Joe, you talked about Wright being a cerebral fighter. Here's proof of it right here. Jab to the body and then a hook to the head. That jab to the body setting up ahead of time the hook to come.
Dan Wallace is in the black with gray trim. Walter Wright from the Contender Season 2 is in the white silver with blue trim. 3 rounds to go here in Tacoma. Wallace has landed only 6 punches per round for the last 3 rounds. Wright a 69-18 connect advantage over the last 3 rounds.
Again, watch the feet. The feet of Wallace moving all the time, not set. Wright always set and always at the right distance in the right position to be effective.
Wallace is really searching for answers right now, and he's taken a lot. He told us yesterday, if there's one thing that I really have to improve is my defense. He feels that he takes a lot of unnecessary punches. I think Walter Wright would agree.
For the young aspiring fighters out there, can learn a lesson watching Wright. Sometimes less is more. A lot more motion, a lot more movement by Wallace tonight, but a lot more connecting and effectiveness by Wright.
Clean sweep on Teddy's scorecard.
It's not how much you do, it's when you do it and how effectively you do it.
Walter Wright, 25 years old, feels he has a lot left and a lot of upside to his career. Had a good amateur career. In fact, had an amateur win in the U.S. Nationals over the current ESPN.com prospect of the year, Andre Berto.
Although Wallace has long arms, he does not extend those arms at the right distance to take full advantage of that asset. Quite often you can see Wallace being timed with right hands over his jab. That means he's jabbing from too close, not getting full extension on that length. Right there you can see the right hand again connecting by Wright. Wright mixes it up nice, presses, then he steps back and counters.
He wanted to impress.